Hello, I'm Ty West, as you know from our panel a moment ago. I've made a couple movies recently, a movie called The House of the Devil. I'm on a panel here at South by Southwest about horror filmmaking, as you are.
And I am Ruben Fleischer, and I direct a movie called Zombieland, and I'm lucky to be here sitting here with Ty, who's very verbose and eloquent, and I'm going to stumble through this. So Ty is going to help me be on a panel here.
Well, I'll ask you, because both of us make movies for the time being until we do something wrong. But, like I'm casting a movie now, and it seems like you're casting a movie now. And I sort of find casting to be like a really terrifying experience. And I'm wondering if you feel the same way. Because people always think like casting, oh, that must be the most fun part, you're picking your people. And I have my reasons why I think it's actually terrifying. But I'm curious to hear other directors' thoughts on that.
For me, casting is the most important part of it, and so maybe that's why I get so scared about it. Because like when you're casting a movie, I think 90% of the director's job is who's in those parts.
Absolutely.
And if you do a good job of putting the right people in those parts, then you don't have to do as much work as a director and just let them inhabit the characters and do a great job. So I guess I have anxiety about casting the wrong person to begin with, or not finding the right person. But then just sitting in the room while like an actor who I've seen in movies or TV before is like auditioning, it's just not the most comfortable situation. And as much as I might love that actor, they just might not be right for that part. And so there's just anxiety. But I'm also like insecure, and so I want to make them feel like they had a good audition, and so I'm trying to laugh at the funny parts and be really encouraging. And sometimes even if I know they're not right, I'll have them do multiple versions of it just to feel like, oh, they did a good job. And so it's just an inherently uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, and for them as well, because they don't like audition.
No, they hate it. But I mean, for you, there's such a. I mean, I can imagine, as you were saying about finding the right person, but also having them have some value. That's a delicate balance that is hard to pull off.
It's a pain in the ass, really, because it's like you might want someone and they do a whole bunch of great things for the movie, but someone else does a whole bunch of great things for the investors and so forth, and trying to either compromise or finding someone in the middle, or fighting for your thing or going their way, and then having anxiety if you do that. Did you make a mistake? It's like you said, I think 90% of directing is casting. Because I always tell people, if you're on set, pulling someone aside to have a deep conversation about the scene, oh shit.
Yeah.
That means it's going horrible, and they're doing it really bad, and you're not doing a good job. So you don't want that. You want to be able to have a shorthand with someone that you get along with, and it's just they know what they're doing, and you're just this is a little fast. That's the best kind of directing you can do, I think. Because I think also filmmaking is so traumatic that it's good to have people you don't want to work with assholes, because it's already hard enough that's the last thing you need. You want to be able to show up every day and enjoy the people you work with and have them bring more to it than you could ever do.
Right.
So all that pressure on the fact of you have to pick someone, or there's someone you want and they don't want to do your movie, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you're like, but is it because what did I do wrong? I'm good. And so I don't know. I think both of us are in that situation now, so that's one thing to talk about.
For you, you've really progressed from starting from really low budget and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I have a similar background, not in films, but just starting out making $50 music videos and then building towards a feature studio film. How have you found the experience adjusting to the bigger scale of the productions and the budgets and the pressures and everything else?
It's been hard. I mean, the luxuries of it are fantastic. I did one movie that was several millions of dollars, and that was there's trailers and there's all that real movie shit that I saw on TV, and there was cranes and there's people, and that was it was really cool to be there, and it was a lot of less pressure on me, and there was craft services, and that for the first time was really exciting. But what comes with that is all the people that pay for that have a lot more ideas, and I come from doing everything myself, where I definitely am a stubborn person, but I think I'm very collaborative with people that I am collaborative with. But people who I don't necessarily creatively collaborate with, when they suddenly have ideas because they've given you craft services, it gets really hard to deal with. And I've struggled with that quite a bit as the budgets go low, because being a director, I think there's an element of being a control freak, and I definitely am that. So there's, I want things a certain way, and that's been challenging. But it's everyone's getting paid a little more money, so everyone's happier to be there. The hours aren't quite as bad. The food is better. I mean, if you want to do something cool, put a camera on a crane, you can do that instead of climbing up on the cube truck, and doing that. So I like it, but I'm very skeptical. I have a very trust no one mentality.
Would you be interested or excited to go do like a $40 million movie?
Would love to, and I've tried, but I can't quite, and I've been attached to certain movies that have been big movies, and I just can't quite, there's always a point where I go, it's just not gonna be good. And if it was enough money that I could retire, I would probably sell out, but it's not. These days, it's like, even if it's a lot of money, it's like, it's only gonna be like a couple years, and then I'm gonna be fucked because the movie's bad. So, you know, I've tried, and I wish I could be more successful at doing it, maybe, but I always get to that point where I'm like, this doesn't make sense if we do it this way. And I clearly see that they want to do it that way, and I'm the one person who doesn't. So it's best to just, you know, go do my, and I learned that, you know, I wrote all my own movies, and I tried to do a movie that I didn't write, and it just was too hard for me. I feel like I have to generate my own material. So as much as I can do that, I would like to, so.
Cool.
Well then your first movie was like a pretty giant movie. I mean, it's like, not giant in the scale of Michael Bay, but giant in the scale of like, this is a lot of money.
Well, in my terms, it was a lot, you know, it was a giant movie.
And so how was that just like, I mean, again, you had experience of doing a lot of things, but I mean, and you had like big movie stars in it as well. So there's all kinds of stuff to deal with. Was that sort of challenging?
It was very challenging and scary. I mean, I was like so scared going into it, but luckily the studio, I had a great experience with the studio who gave me the confidence to just go make my movie, and just really were kind of hands off and supportive, and the producer was the same way, where they could have been very overbearing or, you know, just steamrolled me on a lot of things. They were really looking to me to, what do you want to do? And that was great. And then when it came to working with, you know, bigger actors, I was very nervous the first day Woody Harrelson was there, but he just made me feel really comfortable and just made it clear that he was interested in, like, you know, being directed and working on the character, developing it and finding what works and everything. So it was a great experience, but I can imagine if the people hadn't been so cool or supportive, it would have been the opposite. I just happened to get really lucky.
How about in post-production, like with test screenings and things like that I've tried to avoid my whole time, and you, I'm sure, no doubt, had to deal with that head on. How was their response in the sense, like, you know, I always find it weird that if you test screen a movie and some people don't like it, well, some people aren't going to like it anyway. And if you change it for those people, then the people who liked it before aren't going to like it. So it's sort of subjective. Was there any pressures based on test screenings that maybe you agree with them or you didn't agree with them? But
we did 3 friends and family test screenings where it was like just, you know, people that we kind of knew or people we knew, and so we'd have questionnaires and get answers about like different aspects of the film and what was working or what wasn't, and that was super helpful in terms of us just seeing how an audience takes the film in, which I think is really important. And while you don't need to answer every single note, if there's a general consensus like it's too slow here, or this scene's boring, or not enough of this, or whatever it is, if there's a lot of people saying that, I think you have to pay attention to it, because I'm making the movie ultimately for the audience, not for myself. And then when we did our like official test screening, because I think we'd done such a good job of answering audiences' needs in the times when it didn't matter, our test screening was like off the charts and people loved it, and the studio like did a dance, and so like we didn't have to like change anything. They basically said lock picture, like don't change it, like after our first official test screening, just because it was such a good one. But I think it was only because we did all these smaller scale friends and family ones where we got input, and that helped.
Sort of honed it in.
Yeah, we like helped shape it, and we did a lot of rewriting and restructuring and stuff as a result of those friends and family screenings, which gave us a lot of helpful information.
And I think the thing that we shared in common in that the comments that we've both gotten is that the next time we need to have more boobs.
Yeah.
That is our fatal flaw.
I feel the same anxiety about it, that you just feel like a jerk, kind of like, because actually in Zombieland, I wanted to mention this up there, the only boobs we had in the movie were the stripper running out of the strip club. In the first 10 takes or whatever, she had no tassels. And it was just felt weird, like with the spirit of the film, and you know, it's cool watching a naked lady run around, but like, but I definitely, it was like, this isn't Zombieland, and so we like put tassels on her, and it was just one more thing to bounce in slow motion, and it was it just worked better, and so we ended up going with the one that was actually more PG, just because it was more, I don't know, it worked better.
Yeah,
it didn't feel gratuitous, I guess. It was like, oh, that's somewhat, you know, tasteful, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have a stripper.
But I think the more boobs that the audiences are, or I shouldn't say the audience, but the message boards are looking for, are the sort of gratuitous. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, I can remember as a 12-year-old boy watching Revenge of the Nerds and being really psyched on boob. So like, if I can help out at, you know, the future 12-year-olds of the world, maybe that's a responsibility.
But I also think, and we mentioned it in the panel about, I think Scott did that, like when you and I were 12, to see boobs was like a real feat. Like that was something you had to search out. There was no internet to do it, and now it's so around that I don't think gratuitous is really as relevant as it once was. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Movies seem to be there seems to be a lot more nudity and violence in movies now, so it's not as like a coveted thing.
Right.
So maybe we should just make good movies.
That's what I plan to do. So this is our final minute of wrap up, and I just want to say thank you very much for being on the big panel and being on the little panel.
I'm glad to be here with you.
Thanks to the people here who are kind enough to sit through this.
Thanks.
All right, cool. All right.